So I wanted to continue with the introduction to appearing and empty by His Holiness, and with some help from me. And whenever I do these things for the books, I always read something from them. So I'm going to read from page 102 what His Holiness said about pain and pleasure, an example of dependent existence. So this is from the chapter on the world of, excuse me, the chapter on the world of dependent imputed existence. Okay, so doesn't work. Here's what he says. Each phenomena has two interrelated natures, its dependently arisen conventional nature and its empty ultimate nature. Our experiences of pain and pleasure illustrate these two natures. Both pain and pleasure depend on causes and conditions. They are mutually dependent on each other and exist by being merely designated by term and concept. That is their conventional nature. And there you can see they have all three types of, or put it this way, the three descriptions or three types of dependent arising fit the pain and pleasure applied to them. But pain and pleasure are also empty. There is no ultimately existent pain or pleasure. This is their ultimate nature. When Madhyamikas say that there is no pain and no pleasure, they mean pain and pleasure have no inherently existent nature. So similarly in the Heart Sutra, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. It doesn't mean we don't have those things. Clearly we do, but that's on the conventional nature, the conventional level, we have them. But in the Heart Sutra, it's saying that they have no inherently existent nature. The pain and pleasure we experience in daily life come about dependent on many factors: external people and things, internal states of mind, and our previously created karma. We usually just attribute pain and pleasure to external things, but that's really very limited. There's so many other causes and conditions. For instance, I am going about my day when someone comes along and criticizes me. My previous karma has a role in causing this event. My distorted conceptions further twist the situation. How I interpret the words and describe their meanings to myself also affects my experience of it. I could think this person is unhappy and feel compassion, or I could think he is blaming me, in which case I'll become unhappy and angry. Although this type of obvious imputation affects our experience, it is not the subtle meaning of things being merely designated. Merely designated means that apart from what is designated by mind, nothing exists from the side of the object. Okay, so we call this a cup, but there's nothing in this that is a cup. Similarly, you call yourself by your name, but there's nothing in your five aggregates that is a person. Although pain is designated by mind, it exists. Okay, so saying things are merely designated by mind doesn't mean they don't exist. Yeah, as they exist, and it's talking about a specific type of existence. Yeah. If I regard the cramping in my leg only from the angle that I am in pain, the pain seems horrible. Due to my focusing and thinking only of my pain, I perceive it to be extremely uncomfortable. But when I then accidentally hit my head on a ledge, instead of focusing only on the pain in my leg, I now feel the pain in my head, which is much worse. can't imagine His Holiness doing this. At that time, my leg pain seems comparatively mild and tolerable. In fact, I feel fortunate that my leg does not hurt as much as my head. It's clear that pain is relative. However, this does not deny that my leg pain is pain, even though it is now designated and experienced as mild pain instead of extreme pain. Bodhisattvas voluntarily take rebirth and intend to remain in the samsaric world to benefit sentient beings. From that viewpoint, they do not hurry to attain nirvana. But this is not because they think samsaric pain is not pain. They do not think, oh, samsaric pain is merely designated, so there's no need to free myself from it. Okay. So pain is pain, and bodhisattvas also prefer not to be in pain. But when they compare overcoming their own pain with serving others, the latter is more important to them. To serve others, bodhisattvas are willing to tolerate their own pain, which seems insignificant when compared to the dukkha of all sentient beings. Yeah. Do we do that when we're in pain? No, our pain hurts more than anybody else's. There's another section here on appearances that is quite interesting. So, since objects are apprehended by reliable cognizers, how do we account for the differences in appearances to various sentient beings? Okay. In Vasubandhu's commentary on the Compendium of the Mahayana, he gives the example of a deva, a human being, and a hungry ghost who look at the same glass of fluid but see different things. Due to special karmic influences, the deva sees nectar in the glass, the human being sees water, and the hungry ghost sees pus and blood. In a similar way, we human beings see filth when we see cow dung, and flies see dessert. Such appearances are due to karma, not spiritual attainments. Okay. When I lived in Dharamsala for a while, in some of the homes above MacLeod Ganj, they were the houses that I think were some of the first ones built when the Tibetans went to MacLeod Ganj. And I stayed in the house. It had no running water, it had no plumbing, and it had no bathroom. So, and all the houses in the community were like that. So we all went out into the forest in the morning, you know, wave to your neighbors each morning and then go in different directions. And I remember, you leave your deposit there, and then you go back to the same place the next day, and it's gone. Because the flies just thought, wow, this is so delicious. And they demolished it all so that the next day you could give them more, you know. And they really saw it as dessert, but we didn't, you know. So it's the same way with cat food, you know. I mean, I find the smell of Maitri's cat food just horrible. Maitri thinks it's great. Venerable Semke, on the other hand, isn't as adverse to it as I am. Okay. So according to the realm in which sentient beings are born, their conventional, reliable cognizers apprehend things differently. In the above example, nectar is a conventionally existent object apprehended by a deva's reliable cognizer. Okay. And water is a conventional object apprehended by a human being's reliable cognizer. And pus and blood are objects apprehended by a hungry ghost's reliable cognizer. So you have three reliable cognizers according to the realm of each sentient being that is perceiving it. And that happens because of the difference in their sense organs, and the difference in their karma, both. A human being who sees the fluid as pus and blood has an erroneous consciousness because the fluid does not function as pus and blood in the human world. In addition, other humans' reliable cognizers discredit this fluid being pus and blood. So that, somebody seeing it with one of their senses doesn't mean that it is that object, okay? The framework within which such cognizers are reliable depends on the karma of sentient beings. Due to karma, in this life we were born as human beings with human sense faculties. A non-defective visual consciousness of human beings will see water in the glass, while a defective visual consciousness will see pus and blood or nectar. Okay, so what is a valid cognizer for a being in another realm is not necessarily a valid cognizer for us. And what is a valid object seen by beings in another realm is not necessarily a valid object for us. Okay? If beings are born as hungry ghosts due to their previously created actions, they will have the sense faculties of that realm. The non-defective sense consciousnesses of hungry ghosts will see pus and blood, whereas consciousnesses with impaired faculties will see water or nectar. In general, Arya Bodhisattva's consciousnesses are not determined by their karma, but by their accumulation of merit and wisdom. And that could be why we say that, for example, very highly realized bodhisattvas here sees the human realm in a very, very different way than we do, or sees the human realm probably in two ways. One way as we do, and another way according to their own karma, how things appear, because they've purified a lot of that karma which creates the dukkha of the human realm. So thus, majority vote isn't the determining factor of whether a perception is erroneous or correct. It is whether an object is seen by a reliable cognizer of that realm. Okay, so this gets a little bit tricky in here. Majority vote is unreliable because it is possible that a large number of people hold a certain idea or have a particular perception that is erroneous. For example, many residents of a country may believe a pandemic is a hoax, but that doesn't mean no one will die from the disease. Yeah, despite many people not believing that climate change and global warming are occurring, rising sea levels and fires in the tundra are realities. Okay, so just a lot of people in a realm seeing something that way doesn't mean that that establishes the correct kind of renown. It also has to fulfill other qualities. For example, that a correct valid cognizer of other people see it as different, and that and there's some kind of proof behind that, and also that it doesn't contradict a valid cognizer of the ultimate. Okay, so we may see things as inherently existent, our visual consciousness things appear that way to a visual consciousness, but that doesn't mean that they do exist that way, because that can be contradicted by the reasoning analyzing the ultimate. Okay? It sounds simple. It doesn't, it isn't so easy when you get to specific cases sometimes, yeah, because when you look for evidence of certain things, sometimes you can find evidence on both sides, and so it's a matter maybe of your preference, which one, you accept as valid. But I think in the long term, time will tell. Yeah. So, for example, people may say, and a lot of people, let's say that there's no climate change. Yeah, there's evidence to the contrary, but let's say, the evidence to the contrary and the evidence for climate change, kind of 50-50. After a while, I think it becomes clearer because, the evidence for climate change will probably increase. I mean, it has been the last few years. Okay. So that's something from appearing and empty.